It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspectives of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is being brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on local radio WMOA AM 1490 and ESPN radio WJAW FM 100.9 and AM 630. It's now time for the show. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Energy Insights on a Saturday morning, and again, we're joined by David R. Hill, David R. Hill Incorporated, and our program brought to you each and every week by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And I want to get a little, and we got a little bit, I think, on the first program that we did, but for the listeners that didn't hear it, maybe just a background. You said second generation oil and gas guy. So talk a little bit about the early days. You're still a young man, but the early days of David Hill and, some of the things you did getting into this business, and then how it has moved forward over the years.
Mm-hmm. We talked in some of the previous episodes about I'm second generation oil and gas. My mother and dad were in the oil and gas business, so I grew up around the rigs. I grew up around fracking operations. I pestered my dad every day in the summer to let me to go to work with him. I loved going around and seeing the machinery and seeing what was done. My training, I have a degree in geology. I'm a geologist, petroleum geologist. And I tell this story. I was about 5 or 6 years old. My dad was drilling this well down in Doddridge County, West Virginia. And there was a guy there who was looking at the samples. He was an oil and gas guy, but he was dressed a little different. And they were drilling this well up on a mountain, and the generator wasn't working. So they brought all the samples down to a restaurant where it was with my dad, and it was this was going to be a big deal. If this well hit, it was going to mean a lot of income for this little community. So everybody was interested whether or not this was going to make a well. So I'll never forget, the geologist is there, and he has his microscope, and he's looking through the little pan that has all the drill cuttings, the samples, and everybody's just looking there and just waiting for him to say whether this is going to be a well or not be a well. And at that point, I was about 5 or 6 years old. I knew that day I was going to be that guy. I was going to be a geologist.
Oh, that's great. That's interesting, and it also brings to light the idea, that as it relates to the, where our feet are right now here in the Mid-Ohio Valley, that the last couple of years we've had all this talk about oil and gas and shale and the Marcellus and Utica and yet most of the business that is around here has been around here for a long time. There just hasn't been as much attention to oil and gas. So a lot of the small producers, and I would say that are the majority of the people that are around here, have been here for a long time.
You're exactly right. I mean, we've been drilling wells in southeastern Ohio and West Virginia since the late 1800s. There were actually some oil and gas leases taken out near Volcano, West Virginia, that date back into the late 1860s. We're talking Civil War era. That's how long we've been doing this. So the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and the Ohio Oil and Gas Association, two wonderful trade organizations, were built by the very mom and pops that we've talked about here. We talked about Danny Warren and Warren Drilling, fifth generation. He told me the story what it was his, I think, great-great-granddad was taking leases in the Macksburg area, late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. We've been doing this for a lot of years. These trade organizations and this industry was built on the mom and pops putting their own capital at risk. It's a great story. I wish it could be told more often. Now, let's fast forward to 2014. Maybe let's go back to 2012. There's a guy named George Mitchell. He started drilling horizontal wells out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. He perfected combining hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling, and it took him a lot of years to do it. He was not an overnight success, but he perfected the technology of drilling horizontally and hydraulic fracturing. It then was taken all over the United States, and now it's been taken all over the world. It's revolutionized the oil and gas production. So as your listeners are driving by and they see all of these, everybody has the white company trucks. Those are wonderful organizations. Mostly they're publicly traded, and there's nothing wrong with that. But contrast that with, the original oil and gas operators that were here and still are here, and we're not going anywhere. But we kind of had two worlds going right now. We have the conventional guys, and then we have the horizontal drillers. But you know what? Interestingly enough, we're all getting together and getting along pretty well. It's been a symbiotic relationship. They need us because they need our oil and gas acreage, and we need them because they have the technology and the capital to do that. And so far, I think a lot of people would say it's been a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, good insights again from David R. Hill Incorporated, and it certainly makes you want to go out and drive Mound Cemetery. You see some of the old, tombstones, and David Bartlett. The Bartletts on the right, and of course started People's Bank, which came out of the oil and gas industry as well. So we thank you for a little historical perspective as well. It's Energy Insights on a Saturday morning, each and every Saturday here, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMON ESPN Radio, WJAW, as Johnny Wolf brings you your local and inside perspectives of the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley.